So President Biden announced a fresh crackdown on the border. I wanted to share this with everybody. So this is from Democracy Now! President Biden has announced the U.S. will begin blocking migrants from Haiti, Nicaragua, and Cuba from applying for asylum if they're apprehended crossing the U.S.-Mexico border. The asylum seekers will instead be expelled to Mexico without due process. So let's listen to their breakdown of it here.
President Biden announced Thursday the United States will begin blocking migrants from Haiti, Nicaragua, and Cuba from applying for asylum if they're apprehended crossing the U.S.-Mexico border outside of ports of entry. The asylum seekers will instead be expelled to Mexico without due process as part of an expansion of the contested Trump-era Title 42 pandemic policy. This comes as the Supreme Court set to decide Title 42's fate in its next session. Biden also announced a small number of Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Cubans will qualify for a program granting them temporary permission to live and work in the U.S. if they apply for the relief from their home countries and already have financial sponsors in the U.S. The announcement came just days before Biden's scheduled to visit El Paso, Texas, Sunday to meet with local officials. It'll be Biden's first trip to the U.S.-Mexico border as president. During his remarks Thursday, Biden made no mention of the harsh U.S. sanctions that have contributed to poverty in Nicaragua and Cuba, nor did he acknowledge the catastrophic legacy of U.S. interventions in Haiti.
My message is this. If you're trying to leave Cuba, Nicaragua, or Haiti, or have agreed to begin a journey to America, do not just show up at the border. Stay where you are and apply legally from there. Starting today, if you don't apply through the legal process, you will not be eligible for this new parole program.
In a statement, the American Civil Liberties Union said, quote, Title 42 expulsions were already an unjustifiable misuse of the public health laws. Let's be clear. Nothing requires the administration to expand Title 42 while it claims to be preparing for its ending. There is simply no reason why the benefits of a new parole program for Cubans, Nicaraguans, and Haitians must be conditioned on the expansion of dangerous expulsions, the ACLU said.
Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. Title 42 is the Trump-era policy. I think it was drafted by Stephen Miller. And the idea behind it is, hey, we have a public health crisis. We have an emergency. We have a pandemic. Virus is spreading unchecked through the population. And therefore, it's a risk for immigrants to come in here because they could be bringing and helping spread the virus. And so as soon as people come in here, what we need to do is ship them right back out. That's it. So they come in here, no due process, no hearing, no trial, no nothing. They come in, kick them right back out immediately. Now, this would not, under normal circumstances, this wouldn't be allowed because, people show up, they claim, hey, asylum, right? Like I'm escaping whatever, fill in the blank. Somebody's trying to kill me. There's cartel violence, gang violence, or whatever, fill in the blank. And so then you have a right under international law to just a fair hearing. Doesn't mean you're going to stay, but you're going to get a fair hearing. What they're saying here is, no, skip the hearing part. We're just going to kick you right out. So that was a Trump-era law. And it's been bouncing back and forth around the courts where they say, they uphold it and then they slap it down. And they uphold it and then they slap it down. And now we've landed on, finally, I think it was the Supreme Court that upheld it and said, no, this is constitutional. This is legal. And so now Biden's expanding that. Now, my understanding is that he's allowing, I think the number's 30,000 or 40,000 from each place respectively to come in here. But as they just described here on Democracy Now!, that's attached to certain things, like the paperwork's already done from your home country, and you have some financial sponsor here, which obviously is a very, very high bar to meet. They're just trying to weed out a lot of people in the process of doing this. So we're right back at square one, where he's just copying a Trump-era policy now. And one of the key points to make here is the rhetoric coming from the White House and from the media and just in most corners of the U.S. is what? The pandemic's over. It's over. Like, we're done here. There are no vaccine mandates. In recent days, there's been recent months, there hasn't been no mask mandates anywhere. Like, the language is very post-pandemic. Everything's post-pandemic. Now, people could disagree with that based on the numbers, and there is a strong contingent that does do that. But Certainly Biden's message is pandemic's done. So you can't at the same time say the pandemic's done, but also the pandemic's so bad we need to do Title 42 to, kick people out immediately. Because that's a contradiction, right? It's one or the other. You could say the pandemic is continuing and we need to continue Title 42, or the pandemic's over and so therefore we can't continue Title 42. But he's doing the contradictory thing. He's saying it's over, but also for purposes of the border, it's continuing, and we're going to kick him out. So copying a Trump-era policy here. Now, everybody's a hypocrite in this conversation. Everybody. Because in a world that made sense, you would have every Republican politician and many Republican voters would stand up and say, I'm with President Biden on this. I agree with him. This is a policy from Trump. I liked it. I supported it. It's kicking people out. And so I approve of it when Biden does it too. Because it's not about partisanship. It's not about tribalism. It's not about team red or team blue. I support this policy. So I support Biden doing it in the same way I would support Trump doing it. Of course, not a single Republican is going to say that because they're hacks. All the politicians are going to pretend. They still to this day claim Biden's in favor of open borders. Really? Really? He kept Remain in Mexico in place, a Trump-era rule. He kept keeping this in place, a Trump-era rule. You just can't make that argument, but they do because they don't care. Because it is partisan garbage. So they're massive, massive hypocrites. Now, on the Democratic side, I'm sure the media, which was covering the immigration thing nonstop under Trump, they're not going to cover this much. It's going to get, 1/10 the coverage, 1/20th the coverage of what it got under Biden. And so you're going to have just silence, really, from liberal corners. And if they were being consistent, they would come out and say, look, this was abysmal under Trump. We think it's abysmal under Biden. We think people deserve better treatment than this. But again, you're not going to hear anything. But what remains is what? What remains is the politics of empire, the politics that we see under Democratic and Republican administrations, which is continued, I want to say hawkishness on the border, but perhaps hawkishness isn't the best word. Continuing to crack down, continuing to be aggressive in enforcing border policies, continuing to not show much mercy to people escaping horrendous situations. And it's always been like this. I mean, the Republicans like to go after Obama for being weak on the border. And it's like, dude, his nickname was the deporter-in-chief. He broke deportation records. Trump, of course, was tough on the border and deported a lot of people. Biden is continuing that, right? And so there is not much of a difference from administration to administration. Now, some of the children detention things and the separation, my understanding is Biden has rolled some of that back. So he's been a little softer in some specific ways with the border. But the general thrust of it is exactly what you think it is. The general thrust of it is both parties are going to crack down just to differing degrees. And that's just the way it works. That's just the way it works. Now, it should be clear at the end of this segment what I support. First of all, I think we need a hell of a lot more immigration judges and personnel and even facilities at the border. So that's step one, is you just need the manpower in order to deal with this. And then step two is I'm in favor of an organized, empathetic, intelligent process to adjudicate everything and determine who gets to stay and who gets to go, having standards. Basically, I'm in favor of having a border, but being humanitarian and empathetic and reasonable and organized in dealing with that. And I don't think you don't get that from anybody, right? None of the administrations do that. I mean, what you have with Biden here, clearly he's just overwhelmed by the negative coverage of what's going on down there and by the numbers coming in. And so he's just just end this problem for me. And if the easiest way to end it in his mind is just kick him right out immediately, that's what he's going to do. And so, again, don't hold your breath waiting for Democratic politicians and Democratic-aligned media to criticize Biden over this. Don't hold your breath for that. And don't hold your breath for any Republican to give Biden credit, even though they agree with what he's doing here. Because our politics is broken. And by the way, nobody talks about the issue as such, too. That's one of my biggest frustrations being a commentator, is that I try in every single segment to tell you guys, here's what the facts are, and then here's what I believe. And you never really have that from so many people in this space. They'll do the, attack over hypocrisy or attack over a contradiction, go after the other side, quote unquote, right? But they never tell you, and here, by the way, is what I am in favor of. And then they explain it. People don't even, they just hide the thing that they're in favor of. Don't say a word about that and just go after whoever, right? And I just find that so stupid. So I was not a fan of Trump's border policy. I'm not a fan of Biden's border policy. I wasn't a fan of Obama's border policy. What we need is, as I described, And you create a lot of jobs out of this too. I know that's sort of like a flippant, glib point here, but it's true. Like, you need more immigration judges, you need more personnel, you need more facilities, and you need an organized process which is reasonable, empathetic, intelligent, and to handle it like a serious country would, you know? And we don't have that, and I don't know if we'll ever have that. All right, guys, that's the show, y'all. I love you very much. Thank you for listening to me babble day in and day out. You know I appreciate it. You know I appreciate you. Do me a favor, like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 1 million subs. You guys can get us there. If everybody who watched this channel subscribed to it, we'd already be over 1 million subs. We have 1 billion views, over 1 billion views on our YouTube channel, but still don't have 1 million subs. So I know the algorithm's not too kind to me, but we got to try to subvert that. We got to try to, you know, got to try to work around it. I could sit here and cry all day and, you know, sour grape stuff, but there's no reason to do that. Let's just try to beat it. Let's just try to defeat it. Let's try to get to that 1 million sub number. So love you guys. Also click that bell icon so you get a notification every single time a video drops. And a massive shout out to everybody who supports the show on Patreon. You guys make this show work. Massive shout out to all the supporters of Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. If you want to support the show, you can. The links are below on Substack and Patreon. Yeah, I mean, it's because of you guys I'm able to be principled, right? Like, I never had a conversation with an advertiser my entire time doing this show, over a decade. And I'm able to continue to do that because you guys are my base of support. You know, I believe in building media in a small dollar donations kind of way. In the same way that if I was a politician, I'd want small dollar donations, right? Like, and so you guys allow us to do that. And you know what? I'm proud that when you look around, there's not many other people that do it the way we do it, right? Like, most people are doing the ad reads, and they're talking to companies and corporations, and I never want to do that. It's gross, you know? I don't want to feel like at any point in time I'm compromised by whoever, some company or some shit that I have to simp for. No. It's the only people I am beholden to are you. So, anyway, I love you all so much. Thanks again for watching the show. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.